Hello and welcome to today's Four Piece podcast. You know, I was in Australia just a little bit, almost a month ago, a little over a month ago, actually. And I had a beautiful time there. And one story I want to share before we bring our guest on is I wanted to get into the Australian culture. So when I was a kid, and I never heard of this spread ever until this song came out. It's called Vegemite. And Vegemite is it's a bread spread. You know, you put it on like for breakfast and stuff like that. And I didn't know what Vegemite is. I'm pretty sure has vegetables in it, but you know what? I'm going to try it. You know, there's a song by a group called Men at Work. And it's called Do You Come From the Land Down Under or Land Down Under or something like that. Anyway, great song. Actually, it was probably one of the theme songs of my childhood of the 1980s for sure. And there's one part of the song that he says he's offered a Vegemite sandwich, right? So I'm like, you know what? I am going to try Vegemite. So one morning I go, we're at the hotel. I go downstairs to get breakfast and stuff like that. And I get a croissant, which was dumb. And I get Vegemite and I put it on it because to me, it looked just like Nutella. That's exactly what it looked like to me. So I'm like, hey, you know what? It's probably good. So I took it and when I spread, I put that on like I was putting it on a peanut butter sandwich or something like that. And when I did that, I took a bite and it does taste good, but not in that quantity. And so I put it on Facebook kind of jokingly, like, hey, you know, this is what I did. And everybody that was from Australia that's on my Facebook page just kind of like, dude, did you do that? I'm like, yes. He goes, did you eat that? I'm like, yeah, because I'm not going to waste my food, right? I ate it all. But I ate it the wrong way. And this individual who I have the pleasure of meeting, and I definitely call her my friend, her name is Tessa Williams. And she actually taught me how to eat Vegemite properly. And I brought some home. And I will tell you right now, the amount that I brought home, because you don't spread it like that. You just put a little bit. That's all you got to do. You mix it with butter, put it on some toast, and it is actually very good. And so what you want to do with that is you definitely want to do that in moderation. And so a little bit goes a long way. So I want to thank Tessa before we even bring her on, and I'm probably going to thank her anyway, you know, for teaching me how to eat such a staple of the country of Australia. We're going to bring her on. Her story it's one of redemption for sure. It's one of fight. She does have a lot of fight. She is absolutely one of the strongest women I've ever met in my entire life. She's quiet. She's a very quiet individual, and she shows through her silence, she shows an enormous amount of strength. And you are drawn to this individual. She went through some stuff, and she went through some stuff that was actually like they literally put her in the funnies globally. And for her to keep moving forward, yes, you know, and she's going to tell you the story. For her to keep moving forward and how she moved forward was just outstanding. It was amazing in every sense of the word. When we come back, we are going to have Tessa Williams, and we'll be right back right after this.
Your story matters. Your voice deserves to be heard. At DNP, we bring your dream, purpose, and passion to life in print. Whether your manuscript is ready to go or just an idea waiting to unfold, we're here to guide you. With expert editing, stunning graphics, and the knowledge to make your book a reality, we'll help you share it with the world. From book festivals to signings, this is your moment. Let's turn your dream, purpose, and passion into print. Connect with us today and make your dream a reality.
Welcome back to the Four Piece Podcast. Like I said, today I have a very, very special guest. This individual, I met her in Sydney, Australia. She is going to be a part of the book, Stories Of. She's going to be a part of that franchise. The book's going to be released in September. It's called Stories of Transgression and Recovery. This individual, first of all, I want to say, Tessa, thank you so much. When I was in Australia, I decided to do what the Australians do, and I got some Vegemite, and I ate it, and I really jacked it up. I put way too much Vegemite on. And this lady right here in our podcast, she helped me. She helped
navigate the Vegemite.
Thank you. And now I really do like it. I actually have some here in the United States, and I do eat it. And I appreciate you making sure that I'm not killing myself. How much salt do you put in that stuff?
It is way too much salt. That's why it has to be cut with butter.
I mean,
butter or margarine.
Wow, it's got to be cut. And I was like, I was amazed when I ate it. But you know, I finished all that. I finished that whole croissant, Tessa. The whole thing.
Oh, no.
I did because I was not going to waste the food, but thank you for doing that. Also, thank you for being on the program, and thank you for sharing your story.
Well, thanks for inviting me, and I just want to point out that I've lost my voice because it's been a very busy April for me.
Absolutely. And you know, we're going to get into what you are doing in Australia real soon. I do know that you're doing some very special things, and the things that you are doing is you're helping a lot of people in Australia. Tessa, you haven't always been doing what you're doing now. You are you're a very you had a very special
colorful background.
You have a colorful background.
Yeah.
Tell the audience your story. I don't care where you want to start.
I used to be Australia's queen of BDSM, which is what the media used to call me, because I used to promote it and work in it and won a lot of awards in it. And BDSM stands for bondage, domination, and sadomasochism. It's definitely not like 50 Shades. It's a lot worse. It's a lot darker and a lot less glamorous than what the movies portray it as. It was my lifestyle for a while, and it was something I worked in and I was very, very passionate about.
Wow. You know, so you kind of shared the story about how you got into it. You've shared the story many times. It wasn't like you got up one morning and said, "This is what I'm going to do."
No, definitely not.
It was a gradual process. Can you share about how that process began?
Yeah, I began. I grew up in the church, in the Brethren Church, and from there, wasn't a very good church to be in at the time. I don't know how it is now, but being a child in that church, it was a very dark time for me. It was a lot of judgment, constantly being told I was a bad child and I was evil and everything. And hearing that as a child, it scared me a lot. And as I became a teen, and then being told from there that nothing I was doing was good enough because my grades were really bad and I wasn't paying attention in church. And then I got to that point where I just thought, okay, if I'm this evil person, then I'm just going to go be with the sinners. There is no pleasing you people whatsoever. Wow. So I kind of, not really went rebellious, but I decided to just do all the things that they told me not to do. I had boyfriends. I experimented with drinking and everything. And then my mum had this bad idea to put me into modeling. And, modeling just made my self-esteem tank even worse than what it was. And then around that time, I met some very, very toxic boyfriends. And one very toxic boyfriend in particular that I did meet through the modeling industry. He was not a model, but he was with the agency. He picked up on those insecurities because he would hear what the agents and these bookers would say about me being not tall enough, not thin enough, not young enough, and being overweight, even though I was very, very underweight at the time. And he would prey onto these insecurities of mine and just tell me that I was very unattractive and I was very lucky to be dating a 5'0" guy like him, and that he was just this amazing guy that I should be so pleased to be with him. And he loved to make me jealous. So one day he decided to take me to a strip club. And he thought that I was going to be very, very insecure seeing these women on stage. I just said, I'm not going. I don't want to go. Please don't take me there. I don't want to see those women. And he thought he was going to be torturing me by taking me there. But when I went there, it was like this light bulb went off in my head. And I saw these beautiful, confident women on stage, the kind of women that I've always wanted to be. And like even in the modeling industry, I'd never seen women this beautiful and this confident. So I was like starstruck. I just sat near the stage and I was just tipping them and telling them how beautiful that they are. And then there's one girl in particularly, and her name was Sapphire. She was my age. She looked my age. And I just thought, wow, how can someone my age be this confident? And she owned the room. She was so charismatic. So I was just telling her, you are so pretty. I want to be just like you. And so I could see from the corner of my eye that my boyfriend was, he saw that I was not unhappy. I was smiling. So he decided to go take this girl for a lap dance. And the dancer said, take your girlfriend as well. That's really rude. So the two of us went into the lap dance room, and while she was dancing for him, he was giving her all these compliments like, wow, you're so sexy. But then she'd redirect it back at me going, but your girlfriend's sexy too. And it was like, I've never had this kind of sisterhood of another woman standing up for me like this. And then he was talking about how amazing her body is. And then she would redirect it to me and say, yeah, but your girlfriend's body is hot as well. What's the problem? Right. And so he went to go touch her, like untwist her G-string. And then she slapped him in the face. And I've never seen anyone do that before. And he was dragged out. And she grabbed my arm as I was leaving. And then she said, what are you doing with this loser? You can work here and make money. And I said, no, I'm not good enough to work here. I'm not as pretty as you. And then she goes, what are you talking about? You are good enough to be here. You're as good enough to be here as any of us. And it was like at that moment, I felt the acceptance. I felt validated. I felt seen. I felt good enough. Especially coming from a girl that I thought was the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, meant a lot, especially in my late teens. Right. And it was like my brain chemistry altered that day. And I just thought, yeah, I'm going to be a stripper. Like, this is it. Like, even the guy I was with knew at the time that was on my mind. And he tried to put me down for it so badly. So I had to kind of get 2 restraining orders to get away from him and relocate to another part of Australia. This is how crazy this guy was. Wow. I was so determined that this is what I was going to do with my life. So my last modeling check I ever got, went straight to the plastic surgeon. I bought the biggest breast implants that I could get. And I was determined I was going to go dance in a strip club. So I had to I kind of asked around which was a good one to start in. And it was like at Twin Peaks, worst one I could have started in. But on my first day, like, I was too scared to go in. And then when I did go in, I was begging every guy not to take me for a lap dance. So I was just not ready. And I was begging the DJ not to put me on stage. And the owner called me over and said, listen, Missy, when you're here, you dance. You don't beg people not to take you in for dances. That's how you make money. That's why we got you here. Right. So he said, come back when you're ready. So I came back the next day because I was determined. I was very, very determined. So one of the other girls said, okay, I'll take her on stage with me. And yeah, from then on, like, yeah, I thought, okay, this is fine. I can do this. And I was there in the strip club for about 10 years. So that was kind of how I got started with it.
You know, and we're going to talk about, you know, you're very, very determined. We're going to talk about your determination here in a minute, because that is one thing that has not changed. As a matter of fact, it's probably gotten even stronger as time went on.
Yeah.
So when you, so you were doing this for 10 years. Now,
yeah.
Go ahead.
And I met my husband within the first year that I was stripping. And a lot of people say nobody marries sex workers, nobody marries strippers. Yes, they do. There's a lot of men that do, because they do see sex workers as meal tickets. And I did marry one of those guys. And I think I did get married because people were telling me I'd never be able to get married. So it was kind of me trying to prove a point. So I married a guy that I thought was the sweetest, nicest guy I've ever met. And after 5 years of marriage, wanting to have a baby, wanting to start a family, he completely changed. I saw the real him. It's like the facade dropped. He did not want me to lose that money, to lose my body, to lose anything. So he decided to destroy all my identification. And for me, being born in South Africa, it was hard for me to get that back. It took me a long time to get back. I couldn't get a job. I couldn't go on welfare. I wouldn't be able to leave the sex industry at all. And to make things worse, his friend told me that when he was in Finland, he had a vasectomy to make absolutely sure that I would never, ever be able to have a family. So that was kind of the turning point for me, is going, this guy's cruel. He is getting off on my unhappiness. He could see I'm very unhappy, and wanting a family was a very important thing for me. So I, was making my exit plan. So when I was unable to make money in a strip club, which was hard, like a lot of strippers do leave with no money, and it was getting hard towards the end of stripping with girls coming into the industry, and a lot of girls were doing everything for $50. So it was getting hard for the rest of us to make money. So I would come home with no money. So he wanted everything 50-50. And if I didn't have money for groceries or money for bills or anything, I would not eat that week. So I could either ask a customer at work to buy me some McDonald's, but I had no money for cat food. So I'd be sharing cans of tuna with the cats. And I'm talking about, I was married, mind you, and my husband had a good job as a chef. And I was living in an apartment in the city. And I was living like I was in poverty in that marriage. And I was extremely lonely as well while I was in that marriage. So I decided, and he was cheating. He was openly cheating as well. Even his friend would call me up and say that I was trying to tell him that your wife is more beautiful than the girl that you're cheating with. What are you doing? So it was very openly cheating at the time. And he said that she can't do anything about it because she relies on me. Okay. And I thought, I'm going to make my exit plan. So, yes.
I'm sorry. What were you relying on? You were not.
I had no ID. I had no idea I couldn't go anywhere. He thought that I could not go anywhere and I was going to put up with this for the rest of my life, paying for half his life, his Australian dream.
Was he was Australian?
No, he's from Finland.
He's from Finland. Wow. Great guy.
Yeah.
I mean, jeez. All right. So, keep on going with your story. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, I had to think of a way, because I needed to make money. So the first thing that came to mind was escorting, because I saw how much the escorts were getting paid. And I had a lot of friends who stopped stripping and started escorting that were making a good amount of money. So I thought, okay, this is it. I've got to do this because I've got no other choice. So I had 40 cents in my pocket that week, and I couldn't even buy a can of tuna for me and the cat. So I called up an escort service and I sent them some photos, and they sent me on my first job that week. And when I arrived outside the hotel, I thought, okay, when I'm leaving a prostitute. And so so I went in, I met with a customer, and interesting scenario. I just put on a performance for him that I was used to doing with stripping. So when I left with nearly $4,000 from this few hours with the guy.
I'm going to ask something, and I'm saying this in a very sarcastic tone, and actually a pretty mean tone. Did you split it with your husband?
No.
Good. All right.
I gave him the cut that he needed for the bills and for the rent and for everything. That was going straight into my bank. And, he knew what I was doing for money, because I made it blatantly obvious. I was buying expensive outfits. I was hanging them up. I was telling him, be quiet. I've got to see a client in the morning. He didn't care as long as I was paying half the bills. But I thought, I need to get rid of this guy. Like, even the woman who ran the escort service said to me, like, you can't. This guy is horrible. You need to get out of there. Because, you're sleeping in the same bed with this guy that... Yeah, like, I don't know how I could do it. And then I decided I'm going to go into porn. That's the one thing he told me that he would never tolerate with me doing. And because that would be everyone, his friends, his family, his people at work would see what I was doing. And I think that would have been the ultimate humiliation for him. And it was, because when I made my first video, like, I met some guy that was doing porn at the time. I said, could I do one video with you? So when I did that video, I advertised it everywhere. I advertised it on my social media. I took photos on set. I was very open about it. And of course, my sister-in-law with the busybody saw it. She sent it to him, and he came home from work furious that day. And he called me by my work name, Contessa, and he said, I'm leaving you. And I said, well, finally. And then he said, how long have we been married? I said, 10 years. And he said, I've been cheating on you for that long. And I said, I really don't care. All I want for you is to get out of here. which is what he did. He, put the deposit down on an apartment, and he moved out about a month later. And I thought, this is my freedom. And I saw that this new industry was part of my freedom, that I would be able to support myself, because there's no real age limit of sex work. You can see women in their 80s doing it.
Right.
So I thought I was going to be here forever.
Wow.
So, at the next part came, I was kind of very intrigued about BDSM. And it was always there ever since, like, in my early 20s, like when I read a book from the Marquis de Sade about violence and sex being put together. And I was disgusted when I read this book for the first time. I was disgusted when I saw the movies. I'm like, this is so disgusting, but I could not turn away. And I just kept reading it. It was like something in me, like, just connected with it. It's like I put myself in the position of the aggressor. What if I was the person abusing them? If I was the person that was abusing these men the way that they abused me? And I got really excited. And I'm not going to lie, that is the part that's kind of really got me hooked. So I spoke to some people. I even looked online if such a community existed, because I thought, it has to exist. It's too good to be true. Like I did see some articles here and there. So I went online, I spoke to people, and they told me about parties called the Hellfire Nights, that they happen once a month. And so I attended one of those, and I met my first master. And I told him that I was new to this. I was very vanilla, and I would like him to show me the ropes. So for 1 year, I worked as a slave for him.
Wow.
That's kind of how he taught me everything. And that's when he brought up one day that I would be a very good dominatrix. And I said, I'd love to be. And he took me to my first dungeon. And that's where he told the woman in charge, that we called her the headmistress, that I was one of his best students, and that, I'd be great part of their group, part of their team. And that was the last time I ever saw him.
Wow.
After he kind of handed me over.
Wow. So now you're in this new realm of the sex business. You become the queen.
No, not overnight. Not overnight.
Not overnight. I mean, eventually you do.
Yeah.
But then there's a change. And I remember listening to, I saw this on another podcast that you were on.
Yeah.
I'm listening to your story now, and I'm listening to a little bit more detail. Here you are, somebody, and you said something just now that was really intriguing. And I listened to your story, from childhood. People labeled you a certain way, and that is not who you are. And then you had a chance, literally through BDSM, to kind of get people back. I hate to say it like that. I mean, I can't use any other way to say it. But you try to now I can get you back, and then all of a sudden you talk to one person or two people or whatever, however many people you talk to, and you realize that's not it. Can you share that story about the when you realize that this is not where I should be?
Well, it was after, I was on my high of just getting up to be one of Australia's #1 dominatrixes. And it was when I saw my clients were getting younger and younger, was the turning point for me. Was when I really reflected and thinking, like, you guys haven't had your first kiss. Your first sexual experience was with some sex worker. And you want this stuff done to you. You want these acts done to you that men far beyond your years that have had every kind of dopamine rush you can imagine want. And I kept thinking, what are you going to do to a girl one day? And I kept thinking all the horrible things that they could do to these poor young girls that they fall in love with. Because I know from experience, once you enter that world, that lifestyle, there is no turning back, and it's a long process to get yourself out of there. So imagine at this very, very young age, they're going into it. How are they going to be when they're my age? It just scares me. And you do see a lot of these people that do become killers. Where did they start? When they got into this really disgusting acts. I just kind of felt that I was contributing to this. I was not helping it because I knew firsthand that they were going to go harder and harder and harder because I was going harder and harder.
Wow. And when you decided that you were part of the problem or you were contributing to the problem, what steps, because you said it took you a long time to get out of it, what steps, did you have to take to finally like make that change? I mean, obviously I know it wasn't like when you realized that, oh my gosh, I'm part of the problem, you stopped that day. There was a process. So how did that process begin and what was the transformation like?
It was with COVID lockdown. And I guess with COVID lockdown, because I worked so much and I was always on the go, and it's like when COVID lockdown happened, it's kind of like I wasn't doing anything. The world came to a standstill. And I had a lot of time to think. I had a lot of time to reflect. I also, around me, I decided to also come off the medication that I was on. I was on a lot of medication. I was on tranquilizers. I was on antidepressants. I was on diet pills on top of that. And I decided it was time to get off them because my friend at the time had accidentally overdosed. And I thought, okay, it's time for me to, just get off that. And I thought I didn't have any doctor support, so I thought that I would, be able to do it myself, which was really, really stupid. So as I was coming off it, when you come off all that medication, it's like these memories that you've been suppressing for a long time come through, especially coming off those antidepressants, the amount that I was on. It's like stuff that I was not thinking about, like gate crashing into my brain. And I just felt like I was going crazy. And I guess to the outside world, it looked like I was going crazy because I couldn't handle these thoughts that were coming into my mind. And it was also that time that I kind of lost, my cat had passed away and the pain was just unbelievably bad. And then on top of that, the landlord sold my house and said that I had a limited time, like within a month to get out. And I couldn't move anywhere.
During COVID?
COVID, yep. And I told him that I had no ID, nothing. I don't know where I'm going to live. I've got no money because COVID lockdown had eaten through all my savings. I couldn't get government assistance, anything. And plus I'd called up my sister and my dad begging for help. And my sister had convinced my dad that I was some junkie, that she told him that I was a prostitute. She was telling him everything that she couldn't, to make sure that he couldn't help me. Anyone that was trying to help me to offer a place to me, she was on the phone to them saying, no, don't, she's crazy, she's a junkie, she's this and that. She's got to learn, let her learn the hard way. And I just thought, I can't survive on the street. I was not made to be homeless. And that's when I decided I was going to end my life that day. And that's when I tied a noose to the side of the stairs and decided I was going to jump that day. And that's when, before I jumped, I just remembered back at church when I was younger, the pastor saying, if you repent at the last, then you won't go to hell. That was my biggest fear. It was going to hell. So I got down on my knees and I prayed and I said, God, I know I deserve this. I know what I've been going through is because of what I've done in my life. I've mocked you in my work that I've done, and just forgive me for this. And so I stood up and I was ready to jump, and that's when I felt something come around me, hold me, and just say, everything's going to be okay. And it's just at that moment, even coming off all the medications and everything and feeling horrible, I just felt peace and I felt calm. And then I just sat down and I said, but I've made a mess of my life. How am I going to get out of this mess that I've made? And then all I heard on my spirit was, open the Bible, just open the Bible. And that's when I opened the Bible. And the first thing I see on there is Mark. So I called up my friend Mark and I said, Mark, I've got nowhere to live. I'm going to have to move out very soon. And I was crying, like I was talking 100 miles an hour on the phone. And then Mark said to me, listen, I've got a spare room here. Just pack up your stuff, come here and calm down. And that was the living situation sorted. And then I just thought, okay, the Bible probably does have the answers that I've been looking for in there. So as I read, the word prostitute was in there. And I thought, hang on, there's prostitutes in the Bible. I thought it was saints and virgins. That's how I was meant to believe in the Brethren Church. And then I just read about the Rahab, the former prostitute. And it made me feel seen. I felt accepted. I felt like I hadn't felt in a long time. Like the day when that stripper says, "You're good enough," I suddenly felt good enough. I went, wow. So I noticed in the Bible does not shun people like me. So that's when I kind of decided that, yeah, maybe God does love me and does see me. And that's when I kind of had the transition to, I never want to come back to this industry at all. And when I moved to my new location, I spent a lot of time alone. My mum had called me up around that time, and she said, "I heard that you were going through something because your sister had called me up. She was telling me that you're a prostitute, you're doing porn, you're doing this, you're doing that." And I just, said to her, yeah, whatever. And that's when my mum called me up and said, "How do I get you out of that?" And I said, "Mum, I need my ID." So that's when we kind of, within that year, she signed all the documents and we went to see a lawyer. I got all my documents back. I got my ID. So first thing I did was enroll in school. But that's when I decided I need to attend a church. I want to be around other Christians, but how do I, as this person, go approach a church? So I decided to go to Hillsong first. It was a good message, but it kind of felt cliquey. It kind of felt cold after. So then I was going for my walk and I was walking past Echo Church, and that's when Echo, I heard on the speaker, I heard Pastor Andrew say, "You belong here." He was preaching some sermon inside. And that's when I thought, hey, maybe this is a sign. So I went back a week later, and after church, like everyone, as soon as I arrived, everyone turned around, smiled, and walked towards me. And I thought, hang on. And that's when they were asking afterwards, the Pastor Noeline, because we've got 4 pastors there. Pastor Noeline, who was Andrew's wife, came up to me and said, "So who are you and what do you do and what's your testimony?" And I said, "Listen, I'm not ready to tell you yet. I'll tell you when I'm ready." She goes, "Okay, I understand." But then I told Mum, "How do I tell these people what I do?" She said, "Tell them, and if they don't accept it, there's plenty of other churches." So that Sunday, straight after service, she made a beeline towards me and said, "So what's your testimony? What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I used to be a sex worker. I used to work in BDSM." And I told her everything. I didn't hold back. And then she hugged me and she said, "You're not that anymore. You're a child of God." And I've been there ever since, and I'm a Sunday school teacher there. It's been only 4 years.
That is beautiful. It's a great story. One thing I have to say about your church, Echo, and it's not what, you could preach whatever you want. I mean, because it's sometimes it's just words, okay? But in Echo's circumstance or in situation, they have some serious action. I've listened to their podcast, their sermons on YouTube. I've actually subscribed. I almost consider myself a member. They just don't know that yet. But one thing that they did one thing that happened, and this is what really gets me about society. When people are trying to change, people are trying to do good, some idiot, and I could say a bad word right there, but somebody always wants to sit there and remind you what you used to be. So here you are, you're a Sunday school teacher. What happens?
They recommended, like, I used to work with kids before all of this, like in my teens, so they recommended, like, working kids ministry again, which I'd love to. I love being around the kids. And when I decided to stupidly post some photos on my Instagram of me serving in kids ministry. They were beautiful photos taken by the church. And then I that Sunday, my phone was going off. And then I thought, maybe something was wrong with mum, because my phone, I could hear it beeping as I'm trying to teach the Sunday school class. And then I saw messages on my phone of people saying, are you okay? Have you seen this? I'm so sorry. It was people from around the world that I know. And I saw it was newspaper articles of me saying that she used to spank men with Bibles and now she's a Sunday school teacher. And it had pictures of me in my dominatrix outfit and me in my Echo Kids uniform, like side by side. And I just had to walk out of there and run straight into the toilet and burst out crying. And I just thought, wow, like seriously, this is like every sex worker's worst nightmare, is to be outed like this. And it's not something small. It's around the world. It was like front page news and one particular magazine. It was on the New York, what's it called again?
Post.
Yes, it was on the New York Post. It was on the Daily Mail. It was in Indian newspapers. It was in the UK. It was everywhere. And I was like in the toilet, and one of the mothers said to me, are you okay? And I showed her, and she said, listen, it's going to be fine. Seriously, you're going to be okay. We all know we've all got your back here. So I had to kind of put on a brave face and go back into the room where the kids were and just, act like nothing was wrong. And then afterwards, I ran straight away to Pastor Nolene and I showed her the articles. And and she said, no, you're going to be okay. Echo Church is always in the newspaper as well. Like, this church has got your back 100%. Like, you've always been honest with us. So I had to endure with one day of humiliation and death threats and everything. And thank goodness the women at Outreach were trying to make me laugh about it. And it's just, I thought it was the end of the world. But it ended up being the beginning of something else for me.
You know, I'm going to say this about you. One thing that you have, I don't care where you are in life, you have always had a theme of, I am going to do this. One thing I'm going to tell you, I've known you for a short time, Tessa, and one thing that I absolutely admire about you, and that everybody I know that I talk to about you, that admire about you, they say that your determination. What the media did to you that moment, they weren't doing that to help anybody. They were doing that for sensationalism. They were doing that to embarrass. They were doing that to create a story, to create a scandal and everything else like that. The greatest part of that whole story is you went back.
Yes.
That is the greatest part of the story. And it being Easter week, we're recording this during Easter week, by the way. It being Easter week, I'm sitting there looking on Instagram, and this morning, what I see on Instagram is you leading kids into the sanctuary. And this is, like you said, it's 4 years. This is 4 years later.
Yes.
You're still doing this, and you're still doing this with pride. There's a couple of things. I mean, you could, like you said in the very beginning of this podcast episode, you said you could have been doing this until you're 80 years old. The sex industry worldwide is a trillions of dollar industry.
Yeah.
People make tons of money in this industry. However, your integrity and your tenacity and your willingness to do what you believe is right is worth far more than anything you've ever done, far more than any dollar amount you've ever made. And that's one thing that I have to say that I totally respect. At the time, since the time I've known you, again, like I said, I have nothing but like pure admiration for the strength that you have. In addition to teaching kids in Sunday schools, is there anything else you're doing?
I'm doing outreach. I can't name the name of the organization, but it's a Christian organization, and we do go around to brothels. We do all street walkers, and we do ask them if everything's okay, if we can help them in any way, because I know firsthand a lot of those girls are not happy. A lot of those girls are not there by choice. And a lot of those girls talk about how it's empowering, but deep down inside, they're just falling apart. I was one of those girls. And we do that once a month as well.
Is there anything you would like to tell the audience? Because I could sit there and talk all day about just you as a person. But is there anything you'd like to? And I also want to save your voice a little bit too. I know it's getting. But is there anything you'd like to tell the audience before the episode's over?
Yeah, it's one thing that I noticed on my last outreach, and I also noticed from speaking to another woman over in America that's doing the same outreach as me. We noticed the girls are getting younger and younger. And I was in the industry a very long time. I've never seen this amount of very, very young girls. I'm like talking about girls that are just barely out of high school. And I was just shocked, because when I worked, they would never have allowed girls like this to enter. But these girls just look like kids. And I just blame the OnlyFans culture. I blame how sex work is being glamorized. Like, even by talking to these girls, they're in over their heads. They got stupid reasons for joining it. And they didn't realize that OnlyFans, they were not going to make money, because the average OnlyFans girl makes, I don't know, maybe $200 to $300 a month. It's very little. And when they realize they're not making a lot of money, they kind of think, where can I make the money? Where can I make this quick money? So they end up in the lowest brothels. And I'm talking about girls making $75 an hour. They don't get all that money. They give a cut to the house. So they'd be making $50. And it's like, these girls can do so much with their lives, but the lure of just easy money, of sleazy money, has just made it look so glamorous. It's made me absolutely heartbroken. And I was in the industry a long time, and I was in the darkest part of the industry, but the last outreach we went on really broke me. It just made me think, like, seriously, if word's got to get out, we've got to, like, I even connected with other women doing what I'm doing and said, we've got to start speaking out about this, because the girls are getting younger. It's like the industry and the enemy is grooming them from a very young age to join, thinking that they're going to be the next big hit, they're going to be the next celebrity by selling their body. And the reality is they're going to end up in one of these places. They're going to end up just on drugs. They're going to end up just destroying themselves at a young age. Like me, I was older when I went in, and I barely made it out alive. So imagine these girls that are just barely out of high school.
Yeah. Yes, and thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for creating the awareness. I will say that sex trafficking, human trafficking, it is a horrible thing, and it is getting much younger. And
yes,
I don't understand why it is getting so much younger. I don't know.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
And
it's definitely OnlyFans.
Absolutely, and it has to be, and I don't know, there has to be an alternative to that. And I think that it's up to us, all of us, to make sure that we give these young ladies a better alternative, a better future.
Yeah. I only remember because I got into the industry seeking validation. It wasn't even about the money for me. It was about seeking validation and feeling seen and feeling loved, feeling accepted. And I can see it in a lot of these girls. They're looking for that.
You know, I will say it as a father, and I mean this as a father, make sure if you have a daughter, all right, men, fathers, tell your daughters you love them all the time. I know that my daughters are now grown, they're adults now, and I will call them or text them out of the blue just to make sure they know that their dad loves them. And that they are definitely strong women, and that I'll be there all the time to be there for them. And I think all parents, not just fathers, but parents should be there. I think that's where it starts. And almost where you talked about your story, you know, when I heard your story, it did start at a very young age, and validation is key. And, you know, don't tell your kids that they're evil, you know, because they're not, you know what I mean? They might be pains in the butt. I understand that, you know, I will tell them that, but they're not evil. They're actually a gift from God. And so are you, Tessa.
Thank you.
Absolutely you are. We will be right back. Like I said, you will be seeing her in the book, Stories of Transgression and Recovery. And you'll be seeing her often. And Tessa, thank you so much for being on the program. We'll be right back right after this.
There is no loss greater, no pain deeper than that of losing a child. In Stories of Children Lost, from the ones who love them most, parents share their journeys through heartbreak, healing, and remembrance. These are not just stories of loss, but of love that never fades, memories that never die, and strength that carries us forward. For those who grieve, for those who remember, For those who seek understanding, this book is for you. Now available at Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, and anywhere you buy books. Find comfort in shared stories.
Welcome back to the Four Piece Podcast. I have guests on here talking about everything, and they can talk about anything on this show. I don't care what it is. They could talk about their faiths, and we've had many faiths on this show before. They could talk about, I try to keep them away from politics, even though it's slipped out a couple times. We could talk about anything you want. I don't care about anything. I want to leave it open because you know what? I take the whole person approach, and I want to listen to everybody's point of view, and you should hear everybody's point of view with an open mind. And that's what I have on this show. The conference that I went to was called Anointed Warriors. And absolutely, I got to participate in the conference. Tessa was far and away so powerful at that conference. The story that she had to say, she did say what she said in our in the podcast that we just had, the interview that we just had, but she even said a lot more. It was such a great it was a great experience. I must say that the Anointed Warriors conference was a great experience. It was a fantastic experience. I'm going to tell you, I don't really share my religious background or beliefs. I am a Christian. I believe in Jesus. I believe that he died for my sins. I believe all of that. I also believe that, that everybody, even Jesus said, you choose your path. You can follow me, you can follow me. He didn't say you better follow me. He said, follow me, so whatever course you take, you take. Okay. And this is not what this show is about today, to take that. I will tell you that what happened while I was in Australia did help me a lot in my journey and in my walk of faith. Number one thing I do have to share about my walk of faith is after my daughter died, my faith was shaken. It was shaken really almost to the core. Did I still believe in Jesus? Yes. Did I still believe that he died for my sins? Absolutely. However, there were some things that happened, to me, psychologically, mentally, spiritually after my daughter died that made me just, I don't want to say I questioned, I don't know. I don't know how to say it, but I do know that there was a change. There was a little bit of a shift. There was a level of anger. There's a level of pain, and that pain exists even to this day to a certain extent. And this is almost 10 years later. But I will say that Tessa and her story, it helped me reconcile a couple of things that are going on in my life and will continue to go on in my life. And then there was another person that I had the opportunity to meet, and I do want to end this podcast a little bit with her. She's not going to be on the podcast. I'm not going to interview her for the podcast, at least not right now. If she ever decides, she has an open invitation to be on this podcast. This was the person who put the podcast together, or put the event together, Dr. Angela Bennett, who is a very dear friend of mine. I had the opportunity to have dinner with her and her grandmother. Now, let me tell you, her grandmother's 93 years old. And she said, my grandmother's 93 years old. You know what? And here's the picture of her. I have three beautiful women right here, and she's the one dressed in all white. Just an outstanding individual. I'm going to tell you, when I went, knowing that we are going to have a 93-year-old that is going to go to dinner with me, I wanted to make sure that we had certain precautions as far as, making sure she got out of the car right, trying to do the gentleman thing, trying to help out. I'm going to tell you, I saw this 93-year-old woman get out of a car. The car was a low-sitting car. It was the American version of the Kia Rio. So it was a smaller car, and she popped right out of the car. She didn't need any help, nothing like that. She did not have a walker. She didn't have jack. She got out of that car and she walked at a pace that I'm going to tell you right now that even, I had to play catch up. She was not walking slow at all. And she walked up the stairs. She went in to eat and she ate. And she ordered her food. She had a great time. And I'll never forget when we sat down at the dining table, at the table at the restaurant. Beautiful restaurant, by the way. And you know what? For the life of me, I forgot the name of it. My gosh, I forgot the name, but it was a beautiful restaurant. It was gorgeous. I love, my favorite food is, other than pizza, my favorite food is lobster. So I have a very, but I had some Australian rock lobster tail. It was very, very, very delicious. Loved it. All right. But anyway, so while we're waiting for our food to come in, um, I'll I'll never forget. Her name is Miss Shergold, and she looked at me and she said, she's an Australian, mind you. She said right off the bat, and again, she had whatever she said, it wasn't like I was not going to answer. She commanded and deserved all the respect in the world. And she asked you a question, you damn well better answer it. And so she said, as we sat down, she goes, "Tell me, what are your thoughts on Donald Trump?" And I was like, wow, this is how this conversation's going to begin today. And there was like a laughter. Dr. Bennett, she laughed a little bit. Obviously, my wife laughed a little bit. And everybody was waiting to hear what I was going to say. And you know what? I'm sure that now you are waiting to hear what I got to say. And I'm sorry, your name is not Miss Shergold. And I told her exactly how I felt. And that's how it goes. I don't really discuss politics on this program. I never do. But when she asked what you felt about Donald Trump, I told her. And and you know what? I know I was on foreign soil. I had to watch what I had to say, because I'm going to tell you right now, America, you watch what you say when you're on foreign soil. You just, whatever's in your house, you keep it in your house, and that's how it goes. And whether it's good or bad, you just keep it in the house, and that's how you do it. But on the same note, she deserved an answer, and she definitely got one from me. And if you ever want to know how I feel about Donald Trump, just ask Ms. Shergold. She will definitely tell you how I feel. And again, it was extremely respectful. He is the president of the United States, and I don't care if it was Trump, Biden, Obama, Bush, Clinton. They all deserve the same respect, because the office is there to be respected. Anyway, long story short, as I was sitting there talking to her, I heard her life story. Now, remember, this woman is 93 years old. So she was born in 1920 something. I think the country of Australia was only 25 years old when she was born. So put that in perspective. The country became a country in 1901. So the country was just a small country as far as age, a young country when she was born. And the country's become very beautiful. She is a very proud Australian, and she has every right to be. That is definitely a place to be proud of, and definitely a place to, where you come from, that you are definitely coming from a great place. There's so many strong people there. But even in her story, she talked about some things about her life. And one thing that really, again, remember I said my faith changed when I heard Tessa Williams. My faith actually started to even shift a little bit more when I heard Miss Shergold. Miss Shergold told me about her 3 daughters. And all 3 daughters she lost. She lost way before her time. She had to literally bury 3 of her own children. And here I am sitting next to her. I buried one of my children, and I know the pain that I went through and still go through. And I'm sure that she's going through the equal amount of pain, even more so, because it's 3 times as much with her, because she has 3 different distinctive pains that are all unnatural. And yet, as I'm sitting there watching her, I am seeing the strength that she had. And I was just absolutely moved by her strength. She is by far, if not the strongest woman I know, she is definitely in the top 5. She was so strong, so elegant. She was great company to be around. And I told her I will see her again when I come back next year. And I'm confident I will see her again. And we'll go out to dinner again. And, I'll probably tell her a different story about, how I feel about Donald Trump, because that changes every day, just like with everybody else. Next week on our podcast, we are going to have actually, it's going to be this week. I'm sorry. We're going to have Amanda Sellers that is going to be on our podcast. She is from Saskatchewan. She is a voiceover actress. She is a pleasure. And this is a woman she's a single mother. She raises her kids. She runs her own business. And you hear her everywhere. Where you may sit there and say, who's Amanda Sellers? I'm going to tell you right now, you've heard her voice. Guaranteed you have heard her voice. You can hear her everywhere. I look forward to sharing that interview with you. You are going to have a great time, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.